After the 9th failed attempt at in vitro fertilization, even the doctor advised me to give up. While I was hesitating whether to make one last effort, I accidentally overheard a conversation between my husband, Shen Mo, and his childhood friend, Shen Mo. Zhou Ying's uterus has reached its limit. Do you still not want her to give birth to your child this time? She doesn't deserve it. The more she wants to have a baby, the less I'll let her. This is the price she has to pay for driving Yaya away and forcing me to marry her. A chill ran through my body. It turned out that he had always believed that the reason Yaya broke up with him back then was because of me. He married me only to take revenge on me. Distraught, I got into a car accident while crossing the road. In the last moment before my death, I saw Shen Mo rushing over to save me, only to be hit and sent flying himself. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in the time when he was defying his family for Zhou Siyue, penniless and living in a shabby rented apartment. Shen Mo, Mom and Dad, Yaya is the best woman in the world. You can't look down on her just because of her background. One day, I will definitely prove to you how wrong you are. Zhou Siyue, Uncle and Aunt. Although my background can't compare with Zhou Ying's, my love for Shen Mo is no less than hers. I don't expect you to accept me now, but I beg you not to be disappointed in Shen Mo because of me. Shen Mo, Yaya, stop talking, let's go. Shen's mother, Shen Mo, you will regret this. Ying is such a good girl, but you don't want her. Instead, you insist on this unseemly green tea. Shen's father, get out. I don't have a son as stupid as you. From now on, there will be no Shen Mo in the Shen family. The above conversation was so familiar that it made me feel dazed. Didn't I die? Why am I back on the day when Shen Mo brought Zhou Siyue in front of his parents, saying that he didn't want to fulfill the arranged marriage with me and instead wanted to marry Zhou Siyue? It was also on this day that, despite his parents' firm opposition, Shen Mo resolutely chose to sever ties with the Shen family, and Zhou Siyue also moved out of my house. The two started from scratch and lived a poor life. Yes, Zhou Siyue lived in my house, but she has no blood relation with me at all. She is just an adopted daughter of my family. When I was 6 years old, my parents, who didn't plan to have a second child, worried that I would be too lonely without siblings, so they took me to an orphanage and chose Zhou Siyue, who was the same age as me, and Zhou Siyuan, who was 3 years older than me, to come home with us. The reason why Shen's parents looked down on Zhou Siyue was not because of her background as Shen Mo claimed, it was because Zhou Siyue stabbed me in the back. Knowing that Shen Mo and I had a marriage contract and that I liked him, she still got together with him. What Shen's parents despised was Zhou Siyue's character. Shen's father's scolding of Shen Mo as stupid was actually too mild. Before this incident happened, not only the two sets of parents but also I didn't know that Shen Mo and Zhou Siyue had already been together. Now, in order to be together, they are willing to break with their families. On one side is Shen Mo, who was supposed to stand by my side and be my life partner. On the other side is Zhou Siyue, a sister whom I trusted with all my heart, closer than a blood-related sister. On this day in my previous life, I was betrayed twice, and it felt like the sky had fallen. I resented them. Since they were in love, why didn't they just tell me? Why did they have to embarrass me on the day when the two sets of parents were officially finalizing the marriage, even though I liked Shen Mo? I wasn't the type to cling to someone. I still knew how to fulfill others. But when I saw how hard they were struggling without the aureole of the Zhou and Shen families, I couldn't help but feel pity. Needless to say, my parents were furious. After raising such an ungrateful person as Zhou Siyue, they immediately removed her from our household register, announced to the public that she was no longer the adopted daughter of the Zhou family, and took back everything they had given her. Shen's parents, on the other hand, mainly wanted to force Shen Mo to yield to reality. They also spread the word to all business partners in the industry to put Shen Mo on the blacklist. Even all of Shen Mo's friends and classmates received warnings not to help him privately. Under such all-around suppression, as long as Shen Mo and Zhou Siyue stayed in the country, they would definitely not be able to find a proper job. They could only rely on part-time jobs, doing manual labor every day to earn a meager few dozen or 100 yuan to barely make ends meet. In less than a month, the two of them went from being bright and beautiful to being thin, haggard, and listless. During this period, Zhou Siyue contacted me privately several times. She cried and begged for my forgiveness, repeatedly saying that she was willing to step back and fulfill me and Shen Mo. She only begged me to ask both sets of parents to stop suppressing Shen Mo, and she was willing to do anything. She sent me many photos of Shen Mo, who could only carry cement at a construction site because he couldn't find a job. She said that Shin Mo was capable of starting his own company, and if it weren't for me, Shin Mo wouldn't have to suffer like this. She said that if being with me was the only way for Shin Mo to showcase his talents, she could make everything go back to the beginning. In short, she just wanted me to step in, persuade the two families to stop suppressing them, and accept them. Logically, I knew that they deserved to suffer, but emotionally, I couldn't harden my heart in the face of Zhou Siyue's repeated pleas. In the end, I secretly had someone pretend to be an investor to fund Shin Mo's startup. I thought that it was only a matter of time before they achieved their goal and won the recognition of Shin's parents. However, half a year later, when I accepted my parents' arrangement and agreed to marry Zhou Siyuan, who would move into the Zhou family, Zhou Siyue sent me a text message saying that she was sorry for me and asking me to accept Shin Mo again, and then she disappeared. The last information I could find was that a sum of money had been deposited into her account, and she had boarded a flight abroad. After Zhou Siyue left, Shin Mo seemed to have changed completely. He lost his previous recklessness and impulsiveness and became calm and patient. He took the initiative to return to the Shin family and apologized to his parents. He also told me that his relationship with Zhou Siyue before wasn't love, he was just rebelling against his parents' control, but during his time outside, he realized his feelings for me and began to pursue me persistently and propose to me, under his passionate pursuit and the help of Shin's parents. I naively thought that what he said was true. So, although my parents were dissatisfied with Shin Mo and opposed our marriage, because I liked him, they finally gave their consent. After marriage, Shin Mo fulfilled all the promises he made before marriage. He treated me wholeheartedly and gave me a great sense of security. He took care of everything related to me perfectly, and we never quarreled. He would create surprises for me on all major and minor festivals. He made me firmly believe that I was the woman he loved deeply and cherished. Everything in our married life was perfect, except that I still hadn't been able to get pregnant. Shin Mo and I went to the hospital for an examination. He was in good health, while I had polycystic ovaries, making it difficult to conceive naturally. In order to give birth to an heir for the two families, I started taking medicine to regulate my body. When I still couldn't get pregnant after taking medicine, I had to choose in vitro fertilization. The first IVF attempt was successful. When I got pregnant with my first baby, I was overjoyed and personally decorated the nursery, buying a lot of baby items. I also learned to sew clothes myself, hoping that my baby could wear clothes made by me after birth. I was eagerly looking forward to the baby's birth, but not long after my pregnancy became noticeable, the doctor told me that the baby had stopped developing. I couldn't accept the loss of my first baby and was so heartbroken that I cried for a week. It was only under Shin Mo's careful care and gentle comfort that I gradually recovered from my grief. Shin Mo repeatedly comforted me that as long as we tried hard, the lost baby would come back. Therefore, as soon as my body recovered, I arranged for a second IVF attempt. Just like the first time, I got pregnant smoothly, but also like the first time, the baby stopped developing not long after. After that, every time I got pregnant smoothly, but for various reasons, the baby stopped developing. No matter how much effort I made, no matter how carefully I stayed in bed from the moment I got pregnant to try to keep the baby, God still wouldn't fulfill my wish to have a child. Unexpectedly, it wasn't that God didn't want to fulfill my wish, it was clearly that Shin Mo didn't want me to give birth. The person I thought loved me the most actually hated me to the core. I couldn't imagine that every time I was working hard to get pregnant and keep the baby. Did he watch coldly from behind and laugh at my stupidity and poor judgment? If I hadn't accidentally overheard his conversation with his childhood friend, I would have continued to be kept in the dark. But I couldn't figure out that since he hated me so much, why did he risk his life to save me when I had a car accident? Since I couldn't figure it out, I simply stopped thinking about it. Anyway, now that I've seen Shin Mo's true face, in this second chance at life, I won't make the same mistakes again. I left the Shin family with my parents and returned to the Zhou family. As soon as I entered the door, I saw Zhou Siyuan standing at the door waiting for us. Seeing him, my mother thought of Zhou Siyue's betrayal and took out her anger on him. After raising you two for so many years, I end up with two ungrateful wretches. Zhou Siyue is no good, and you're no better. You leave too. I don't want to see you in the Zhou family. I stared blankly at Zhou Siyuan, feeling as if I had traveled through time. Although he was the target of my mother's anger, his deep eyes were calm, and his face showed the familiar calmness and self-control. He was completely different from the furious appearance I saw the last time in my previous life. That time, after the third failed pregnancy, I became obsessed. Before my body had fully recovered, I insisted on having a fourth IVF attempt. When he heard the news and rushed to the Shin family, he was extremely angry. He blamed Shin Mo for not taking good care of me and even hit Shin Mo. That was the first time I saw Zhou Siyuan lose control of his emotions and get angry. At that time, he warned Shin Mo that if he still couldn't take good care of me, as my brother, he wouldn't let him off. Afterwards, when my parents learned about this, instead of blaming Zhou Siyuan, they sided with him and criticized Shin Mo. At that time, because of the pregnancy issue, my thoughts became very extreme. I desperately wanted to get pregnant and welcome the baby's birth. Anyone who tried to stop me was regarded as my enemy. I couldn't see the pain and concern in their eyes and only believed that their opposition was to go against me. I unilaterally regarded Zhou Siyuan as an enemy, even my parents. I began to avoid seeing them. Later, after being recognized by my parents, Zhou Siyuan became the heir of the Zhou group, even though he had the upper hand in business. He still repeatedly gave in to Shin Mo, just hoping that Shin Mo would treat me better. Even though he did so much, I still didn't want to see him. Thinking of these things, I felt deeply guilty towards Zhou Siyuan, the adopted brother I had always ignored, and towards my parents. Seeing that my mother was still angry and wanted to continue taking out her anger on Zhou Siyuan, I quickly interrupted. Mom, brother is different from Zhou Siyuan, don't drive him away. As soon as I said this, my parents and Zhou Siyuan all showed expressions of disbelief. I suddenly felt a little embarrassed. No wonder they were so surprised. In the past, I liked to hang out with Zhou Siyuan and always ignored the dull and uninteresting Zhou Siyuan. Even more, I had never called Zhou Siyuan brother and always called him by his name. Under their intense gaze, I could only clumsily change the subject. Mom and Dad, I've decided that I want to join the company. This statement caused another shock. Since I was a child, thanks to my parents' concept of raising me in a well-off environment, I never worried about money. My parents often said that they would always support me, and I only needed to be happy and do what I liked. Because of their unconditional love, I could easily get whatever I wanted since I was a child. As a result, I didn't have anything I particularly liked or any strong interests. After I graduated, my parents had suggested many times that I join the company. But I was only interested in having fun and refused them repeatedly. Gradually, my parents gave up the idea. This time I took the initiative to propose joining the company, so no wonder they were surprised. But soon, my parents quickly recovered. My father readily agreed. It's good to join the company. It's good to be busy. My mother echoed. That's right, that's right. Let your brother guide you. If you don't understand something, just ask him. Zhou Siyuan just nodded. Okay, me. The decision to join the company wasn't a spur-of-the-moment idea. After the lessons of my previous life, in this second chance at life, I no longer want to let others control my destiny. After taking a shower, I lay in bed, trying hard to recall the events of my previous life and analyze the trends of business opportunities that could help the company's development. However, the more I thought about it, the more I hated myself for my past ignorance. Since marrying Shin Mo, I completely ignored everything else and devoted myself to him. I was so infatuated that I indulged in his lies and didn't care about the company at all. As a result, I couldn't remember many important projects that could expand the company. Just as I was feeling frustrated, my phone rang. I picked it up irritably and saw that it was a text message from Shin Mo. I'm sorry. These 3 simple words left me stunned. In my previous life, Shin Mo severed ties with his family and cancelled our engagement for Zhou Siyuan. From beginning to end, he never said a single word of apology to me. Yes, looking back carefully, even when Shin Mo pursued me again later, he only deceived me by saying that he had realized he loved me. He never said he regretted it, nor did he utter those 3 words. I'm sorry. My hand holding the phone couldn't help but tremble. It wasn't out of fear. I was trembling with anger. Since I was able to be reborn, Shin Mo could have been reborn too. He must have been reborn as well. Is this apology meant for me from the previous life, or for me now? I shook my head and thought self-deprecatingly, does it really matter? Humph, of course it doesn't matter. How much is his apology worth? Even if a despicable person is reborn, they remain despicable. It's good that we were both reborn. That way, I can settle the score with him thoroughly. My hands shaking with anger, I poked at the screen vigorously and typed out each word one by one. I won't forgive you. Let's delete each other. Don't ever show up in front of me again. I hit send, then immediately deleted and blocked Shin Mo, and closed all ways of adding me. Even after doing all this, I still couldn't calm down, thinking of the 9 babies who never got to see the world in my previous life. my heart felt blocked. I experienced the despair of looking forward to a baby's birth and then losing it 9 times. Shinemo just watched my pain coldly. Those were his own flesh and blood too. How could he be so heartless? What's the use of an apology? I wish I could make Shinemo pay with his life right now. Inging, what's wrong with you? It's okay, don't hurt yourself like this. Zhou Siyuan's anxious voice came from beside my ear, and I was tightly hugged. I looked down at the strands of hair in my hand and realized that, just like in my previous life, I had unconsciously started pulling my hair when I lost control of my emotions. Under Zhou Siyuan's gentle soothing, I gradually calmed down in his arms. He carefully wiped away my tears and said, Inging, if you really can't live without Shinemo, I'll help you. Please don't hurt yourself. Okay. I pushed him away, hiding my pain with a cold expression. I don't want Shinemo. What I want is to make sure he can never return to the Shin family, that he lives his whole life in poverty and misery. You'll help me, right? My words made a flash of surprise cross Zhou Siyuan's eyes, but he quickly nodded without hesitation. I'll help you with whatever you want to do. Even though he didn't understand why I hated Shinemo so much, it didn't stop him from standing firmly by my side. Zhou Siyuan was a man of action. Before I even had a clue about how to make Shinemo pay the price, in just one night, he came up with several plans for me to choose from. Taking the printed plans from his hand and looking at the dark circles under his eyes, I didn't need to guess to know that he had stayed up all night because of my words. My feelings were suddenly complicated. To be honest, I had never truly regarded Zhou Siyuan as my brother from the bottom of my heart. I only saw him as a tool my parents found to help me manage the family property. In name, he was an adopted son of our family, trained as an heir by my parents. He worked hard for the Zhou family and the company. On the surface, he seemed to have status and real power, but in fact, he didn't own any shares of the company, only having the right to manage it on behalf of the family. I couldn't understand how human nature could be so complex. Zhou Siyue and I used to be so close that we often shared the same bed and talked until dawn. We played together happily and shared our sorrows. She was a month younger than me, and I treated her like a real sister. She had everything I had. Whenever my parents bought me a gift, they would always get a pair, and she could get whatever she wanted just by asking. She had never been wronged in the Zhou family, so why did she betray me in the end and betrayed my parents' kindness in raising her? On the contrary, Zhou Siyuan, who had been ignored and treated coldly by me since he came to the Zhou family and was strictly treated and demanded by my parents, was completely loyal to the Zhou family, at least until my death in the previous life. Zhou Siyuan still stayed in the Zhou family without any second thoughts, helping me manage the company, taking care of my parents, and trying his best to repair the rift between me and my parents. Inging, Zhou Siyuan called out to me softly. I blinked, realizing that I had fallen into the memories of the previous life again. I quickly lowered my head to look at the plans Zhou Siyuan had made, trying to hide my unease. I knew that I had a psychological problem. I also knew clearly that seeing a psychologist wouldn't help. As long as the knot in my heart remained, I would never be able to get over it. So, it was best to focus my energy on dealing with Shinemo and resolve the issue quickly. Upon looking at the plans, I found that each one was more ruthless than the last. There was a plan to register a shell investment company, sign a gambling-like agreement with Shinemo to invest in his startup, then plant business spies to obtain his supplier list, create a panic by faking a broken capital chain, bribe quality inspectors to issue defect reports so that his products couldn't be delivered smoothly, and make Shinemo bear high debts when he lost the bet. There was a plan to sow discord between Shinemo and Zhou Siyue, bribing a woman to have a relationship with Shinemo and let Zhou Siyue find out. There was a plan to get Shinemo addicted to gambling, destroying his will and ruining him from the root. The most ruthless one was to directly target the Shin group and bring it down from the source. Without his background, Shinemo would naturally find it hard to rise again. After reading these, I had a new understanding of Zhou Siyuan. There were both open and covert methods, fair and underhanded strategies, but these methods would more or less soil our hands. It was clear that Zhou Siyuan had completely misunderstood my intentions. I didn't want Zhou Siyuan to get himself into trouble while dealing with Shinmo. I shook my head. These methods won't work. Upon hearing this, as if afraid that I thought he was incompetent, Zhou Siyuan said eagerly and a bit dejectedly, then I'll think of new ones. He didn't even ask me what was wrong with them. If he were a hard-working contractor, then I would be the annoying client. I already had an idea and quickly refused. No need, I've thought of a way. Zhou Siyuan's face immediately fell. Seeing this, I quickly added, I'll join the company as your assistant. Can you teach me how to manage the company? Zhou Siyuan perked up immediately. Me? Why hadn't I noticed before that Zhou Siyuan was so expressive? When I told Zhou Siyuan that I had thought of a way, I wasn't fooling him, I had really come up with a plan. In the previous life, Shinemo wasn't given up by his parents. He was able to return to the Shin family just by saying he regretted it and apologizing. Wasn't it because he was the only son of the Shin family, and his parents couldn't really abandon him and hand over the huge family business to an outsider? But if Shin's parents had a second child, the situation would be different. My mother once told me that, just in case, they had frozen their sperm and eggs when they were young, as long as we made Shin's parents extremely disappointed in Shinemo, they would be tempted to have a second child. As for how to make them disappointed in Shinemo, it was even easier to do. Didn't Shinemo love Zhou Siyue and think he couldn't live without her? In the previous life, no matter who gave Zhou Siyue a sum of money and helped her go abroad and disappear so that Shinemo couldn't find her. In this life, I would make sure they were inseparable. Lost in my thoughts, I had breakfast at home with Zhou Siyuan and was about to go to the company in his car. As soon as we went out, we saw Shinemo, who had been standing outside my villa for God knew how long. When I saw him, I stopped in my tracks, but Shinemo stepped forward eagerly. Just as he was about to get close to me, Zhou Siyuan stepped in front of me. What are you doing here? Blocked by Zhou Siyuan, Shinmo's face darkened. And he said impatiently, it's none of your business, this is between me and Ying. After saying that, he looked at me and asked matter-of-factly, Ying, why did you block me? I sneered, I didn't just block you, I also told you not to show up in front of me. What are you doing here? He didn't expect me to be so cold to him. His expression froze, and he became even more anxious. I have something to tell you. I know you're angry with me right now, I did hurt you. But I don't want our relationship to turn sour. Can you give me a chance to make it up to you? Did he even listen to what nonsense he was saying? How could a person be so shameless? He had the nerve to say it, and I felt embarrassed for him. Make it up? With what? Did he think that just because he was reborn and knew the future, he could act as if the harm he did to me in the previous life never happened and ask for my forgiveness under the pretext of making amends with a clear conscience? Fine. Even if I forgave him, what would he do next? Where would he put me? Would he make me stand by and watch him be affectionate with Zhou Siyue? Or would he give up on the Zhou Siyue he loved so deeply? My gaze crossed him and landed on Zhou Siyue, who had come with him and was hiding behind the corner, half of her body showing. I asked him, aren't you worried that my sister will be jealous and misunderstand when you pester me and say these things? I emphasized the word sister sarcastically. Shinemo said self-righteously, yeah also feels guilty towards you, she'll understand me. I looked at Zhou Siyue, whose expression turned jealous and angry after hearing his words, and sneered inwardly, then you two can spend the rest of your lives together, bound by your guilt towards me. As for your compensation, I don't need it. I'll say it again, I won't forgive you. After mocking Shinemo, I took the initiative to link my arm with Zhou Siyuan, who was still standing in front of Shinemo, vigilantly preventing him from getting close to me. Unlike my cold attitude towards Shinemo, I said gently to him, brother, let's go. Seeing my different treatment, Shinemo couldn't accept it. In the previous life and until yesterday, I had always been delicate and dependent on him. My temper was so good that even when I was angry with him, he could easily coax me happy with just a few words or a small gift. I had never lost my temper with him. Nor had I ever said anything harsh to him. That's why he thought I would still be as easy to please as before, that he cooed me back with a few soft words and a gift. Now, seeing my obviously different attitude towards Zhou Siyuan, he panicked and stopped us again, preventing us from getting into the car. Pointing at Zhou Siyuan and looking at me, he said angrily, did he say something to you? That's why you're treating me like this, Ying. He's a despicable person, don't believe him. When I heard him speak ill of Zhou Siyuan, I couldn't help but slap him, interrupting his words. Shut up, I won't allow you to talk about him like that. Suddenly slapped in the face. Instead of shutting up, Shinemo became even more excited. Ying, you hit me for him. If you say one more bad word about him, I'll hit you again. My words made Shinmo's eyes go blank, as if he couldn't accept it. He muttered to himself, no, it shouldn't be like this. I rolled my eyes. While he was stunned, I got into the car with Zhou Siyuan and left. As the car passed by Zhou Siyue, our eyes met. Her expression was distorted, and her eyes were filled with hatred for me. I sneered at her, so she wasn't pretending to be affectionate as sisters anymore. Before the car reached the company, I received a message from Zhou Siyue on WeChat. Zhou Siyue, he's mine, it must be the butterfly effect, in the previous life. Zhou Siyue had never me like this from beginning to end. I deliberately provoked her back. Before getting married, anyone has a chance. Zhou Siyue, I won't let you have him. Was I being too suspicious? There was something strange about her words, but I couldn't figure out what it was. I didn't reply to Zhou Siyue's message anymore and turned to look at Zhou Siyuan, who had been keeping his head down and was unusually silent since getting in the car. I was confused. Brother, what's wrong? I was getting more and more used to calling Zhou Siyuan brother. He wasn't used to it yet and didn't react immediately that I was calling him. After a long while, he looked up at me and denied it. It's nothing. Fine, everyone has things they don't want to talk about. I wouldn't keep asking. If he didn't want to say, then he didn't have to. I lowered my head and started contacting the public relations department of the Zhou group, not noticing that Zhou Siyuan was peeking at me. I asked the PR department to use the official account of the Zhou group to directly announce the cancellation of my engagement with Shen Mo. I had them clearly state the reason. Shen Mo cheated on me with Zhou Siyue, the adopted daughter of the Zhou family, for the sake of true love. He was willing to sever ties with the Shen family and cancel the engagement with the real daughter of the Zhou family. Because of my engagement with Shen Mo, every time the Zhou and Shen families had a joint project, the media would publicize the love story of the childhood sweethearts, the well-matched young master and young lady. So, there were many fans on the internet who shipped me and Shen Mo. Now, I didn't want anyone to pair me with Shen Mo anymore. I didn't leave them any dignity. As soon as this announcement came out, Shen Mo and Zhou Siyue's reputations were ruined. Even the resourceful netizens, through clues, found their alternate accounts and discovered that the two of them had been together for 2 years. The alternate accounts were filled with photos of their secret dates behind my back, or pictures of them secretly holding hands when the three of us went out together. Zhou Siyue's alternate account flaunted her love openly as a mistress. Her signature read, "True love is not a sin, face your true feelings bravely for love." Before these posts were exposed by my and Shen Mo's former CP fans, her remarks attracted many like-minded followers, under each post recording how she and Shen Mo secretly loved each other behind my back. There were fans feeling sorry for her humble and hidden love and cheering her on, encouraging her to completely steal Shen Mo away from me. Occasionally, some netizens with a normal sense of morality would stumble upon her posts and scold her, but they would be chased and scolded by Zhou Siyue's fans. I watched all the notes posted on their alternate accounts like self-torture, and a chill ran through my heart. Shen Mo always said that it was disgusting for a man to show off his love, and only sissies would do such a thing, but on his alternate account, he secretly posted some mushy love words to match Zhou Siyue, who never showed her face. They used couple avatars, wore couple outfits, and shared the same ice cream. He would thoughtfully prepare warm baby pads for Zhou Siyue, learn to make birthday cakes for her, warm her feet with his belly, and create all kinds of small surprises for her. These were all things he had never done for me, but he did them all for Zhou Siyue. The bits and pieces in their alternate accounts made me, the legitimate fiancé, look even more ridiculous. Shen's mother also saw their alternate accounts. She had originally hoped for my engagement with Shen Mo, but now she personally brought valuable gifts and came to my home with Shen's father to sincerely apologize for not raising her son well. My parents' expressions were also unpleasant. Since Shen's parents didn't raise their son well and Zhou Siyue was the adopted daughter of the Zhou family, it meant that our family didn't raise our daughter well either. My family didn't accept the valuable gifts brought by Shen's parents, but both sides knew clearly that my marriage with Shen Mo was completely off the table, and no matter what happened in the future, it would be impossible. I blocked Shen Mo's WeChat and mobile phone number. After their alternate accounts were exposed, he changed several new numbers and kept sending me messages, saying that he had hidden the truth from me before because he didn't want to hurt me. He asked me to meet him so that he could apologize and explain clearly in person. The truth was so obvious in front of me, what else was there to explain? Since Shen Mo still had the energy to come after me, he must not be busy enough. I had to find something for him to do. When he and Zhou Siyue left the Shen family, although they didn't take their luggage, the watch on his hand and the jewelry on Zhou Siyue's body were all quite valuable. In the previous life, if they hadn't been extravagant at the beginning and still spent money recklessly after selling these items for some cash, they wouldn't have had a hard time later. In this new life, Shin would surely learn his lesson and might use this money as his first startup capital. I won't give him this chance. It won't be a problem to find someone to provoke and blackmail Shin and Jo Siue, making them lose a large amount of money in compensation. In a civilized and legal society, a slap from a stranger is quite costly. If you knock out someone's tooth, the compensation amount will start from 6 figures. If you have an argument with someone and accidentally push them, and they call the police, pretend to be sick in the hospital and claim to have a headache, then you have to pay for the compensation. So, impulsiveness is the devil. Shin hasn't experienced the hardships of society, and I'm helping him understand the social rules in advance so that he can integrate into the bottom-level life more quickly in the future. I have to say, I'm still too kind, because there were constantly people causing trouble for Shin. He couldn't spare the time to pester me after that day. I became Jo Siyuan's assistant and stayed by his side. Managing a company was much more difficult than I had imagined. There were endless things to do, documents to read, and meetings to attend every day from the moment I entered the company. It was truly a situation where one looked glamorous in public but was exhausted behind the scenes. In the company, Jo Siyuan turned back into the cold and workaholic person I remembered. He didn't hold back when teaching me, and correspondingly, he was also very businesslike and unforgiving. Even if it was me, if I made a mistake, I would still be criticized and have my salary deducted. He said that managing the group meant taking control of the futures of tens of thousands of employees, and we should be responsible for their futures. We couldn't treat it as a joke. We had to be extremely cautious when making any decisions because every decision was related to the future development of the group and couldn't afford to make mistakes. I understood the principles, he said, but after just 1 week of work, my salary was all deducted, and now I'm actually paying to work. Jo Siyuan could read documents at a glance, but when I looked at them, I felt dizzy and my dyslexia would immediately kick in. I couldn't help but doubt myself. Was I really as stupid as a pig? Work was really too difficult. It was so difficult that I was working overtime every day to deal with it, and I even forgot about Shin until Shin blocked me in the underground parking lot of the company. It had only been 2 months since we last met, and he was no longer the high-spirited, noble, and neat person he used to be. He was wearing a wrinkled t-shirt with unremovable oil stains on it. His skin had darkened several shades, and the exhaustion in his eyes couldn't be hidden. He stopped me, but he didn't speak for a long time. Instead, he stared at me intently, looking as if he had a lot going on in his mind. When my patience was running out and I was about to call someone to drive him away, he stammered, "Ying, long time no see." I had a cold expression and didn't want to waste any more words with him. I bypassed him and was about to open the car door and leave, but he blocked the car door and said urgently again, "Ying, don't go. I waited so hard to see you." This time, he didn't dare to look me in the eye. His hesitant appearance was like he was waiting for me to kindly give him an excuse so that he could continue speaking. I didn't need to guess to know that what he was going to say definitely wasn't what I wanted to hear. I crossed my arms and looked at him quietly, not speaking and not cooperating. The atmosphere was deadlocked. A look of embarrassment flashed across his face, and finally, he lowered his head. "Ying, you win. I can marry you, but I have one condition. You can't touch Yaya, and you can't force her to leave. If I marry you, she will definitely be wronged. I hope." Bang. Before Shin could finish what he hoped for, he was kicked several meters away, hitting the car next to him and sliding to the ground. This wasn't over. The person who hit him continued to rush forward, exuding a fierce aura. He dragged the stunned Shin up from the ground and punched him in the face one after another. Shin lost the opportunity to fight back and was completely unable to resist throughout the process. It wasn't until his face was covered in blood and it seemed that he was about to be seriously injured that I spoke up to stop it. "Brother, that's enough. Stop hitting him." Jo Siyuan, whose mind was already occupied by anger, still didn't let go of the unconscious Shin. Only then did I notice that something was wrong with him. I quickly stepped forward and grabbed his hand, shouting loudly, "Brother, if you keep hitting him, he'll die." Jo Siyuan's tone was full of coldness. "Don't worry. I know what I'm doing. He won't die." He also tried to push me aside and coaxed me in a tone like coax a child. "You wait for me over there for a while. It'll be over soon." The commotion here was so loud that it had already alarmed other people in the parking lot. Some people came to check what was going on, when they saw it was me and Jo Siyuan, and then looked at Shin lying on the ground, whose life or death was unknown. Their faces changed drastically, before they could react. Jo Siyue rushed out, She hugged Zhou Siyuan's arm and pitifully begged him with tears in her eyes, "Brother, I'm begging you, if you want to hit someone, hit me, don't hit him, let go, don't touch me." Zhou Siyuan was disgusted by Zhou Siyue's touch. Zhou Siyue was pushed away by Zhou Siyuan, but the next second, she clung to him again. While crying, she hugged him tightly, holding him even closer. It seemed that she was afraid that Zhou Siyuan would continue to hit Shen Mo, but was it necessary to hug him so tightly? Moreover, she didn't even take a second look at Shen Mo lying on the ground. A strange feeling flashed through my heart. I stepped forward, just as Zhou Siyuan was about to shake Zhou Siyue off with more force. I pulled her away from him one step ahead and even gave her a slap. Zhou Siyue covered her face, looking at me with disbelief and anger in her eyes. Her eyes were blazing with fire, as if questioning me why I hit her, in front of her. I insultingly patted the place on Zhou Siyuan that she had just hugged. "You should have some self-respect, don't snatch everything. My brother only has me as his sister now. You have no connection with the Zhou family anymore. Zhou Siyue, it's you who's snatching from me. Brother and I grew up together in the same orphanage, I'm his sister." Zhou Siyuan shook his head. "From the moment you let down Yingying and the Zhou family, you've had nothing to do with me. I'm a member of the Zhou family, but you're not." Zhou Siyue was greatly shocked. "After all, I'm not as good as Zhou Ying in your heart. How can you be so heartless to me? We were the closest people to each other." But Zhou Siyuan ignored her outburst and continued to deal her a heavy blow. "You were never as good as Yingying." What Zhou Siyuan said was fair, just, and objective. In terms of background, appearance, intelligence, and character, I believed that I was better than Zhou Siyue. Zhou Siyuan had better judgment than Shen Mo. However, Zhou Siyue didn't agree with this statement. She pointed at me furiously. "You say I'm not as good as her. She's a useless person whose head is full of nothing but play, without her parents' support. In what way is she better than me? She's just a willful young lady who, relying on her parents' love, doesn't take anyone seriously. Do you really think that just because she calls you brother, she really treats you as a brother? Don't dream. She just wants to use you to make Shen Mo jealous." Zhou Siyue was talking more and more absurdly. "Bullshit, brother, don't believe her. In my heart, I really treat you as my own brother. I have no intention of using you to make Shen Mo jealous. Who does Shen Mo think he is? In my heart, he's already a dead man." I almost swore to the heavens, afraid that Zhou Siyuan wouldn't believe me. As a result, Zhou Siyuan's expression became more and more ominous. On the contrary, Zhou Siyue seemed to have heard something very funny and suddenly burst into wild laughter. "Ha ha 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 ha, own brother." She couldn't stop laughing. "Me? Are you crazy?" Zhou Siyue, "Ha ha ha ha, I'm crazy. And your own brother is also crazy. Do you know what your own brother wants is?" Zhou Siyue, shut up. Just when I thought Zhou Siyue would continue speaking despite Zhou Siyuan's stop, she closed her mouth and didn't say anything more. She just looked back and forth between me and Zhou Siyuan. That look was like she was watching a good show. I don't know who called the ambulance. The medical staff carried Shen Mo onto the ambulance. Before leaving with the ambulance, Zhou Siyue said to me meaningfully, "The person you should hate is the one you regard as your own brother." Her inexplicable words made me instantly irritable. "I think you're really seriously ill." The ambulance had already driven away, still angry. I looked at Zhou Siyuan. What did she mean by that? "Are you hiding something from me?" Zhou Siyuan stiffened all over when I asked him. I lied to my parents, saying that I had work to do with Zhou Siyuan. As soon as I entered the door, without even eating, I forcefully pulled the silent Zhou Siyuan all the way to the study and closed the door. I was determined to get to the bottom of things and wouldn't give up until I found out the truth. "Speak up, what have you been hiding from me?" Zhou Siyuan's face was pale. Standing in front of me, he was a head taller than me, but he lowered his head and didn't dare to look at me. He remained silent for a long time, and no matter how you looked at it, it seemed like I was bullying him. I spoke again. "If you don't tell me, I can also ask Zhou Siyue." As I said that, I took out my phone in front of him, found Zhou Siyue's chat window on WeChat, and was about to send her a video call. Zhou Siyuan reached out and took my phone away. Just as I was about to lose my temper, I heard him say, "There's no need to ask her. I didn't mean to hide it from you. I just thought it wasn't necessary to say it before, but I don't want you to hear these things from someone else even more." After saying that, he took a deep breath, as if he had made a very difficult decision. This time, he didn't avoid my gaze and looked directly at me. "Zhou Siyue is right, both she and I are crazy. You treat me as your own brother, but I have feelings for you that I shouldn't have in my heart. Me, is that all?" My calmness seemed unreasonable to Zhou Siyuan. He was shocked. "Don't you think I'm disgusting? We don't have any blood relationship." I was very calm. "Besides, if you want to blame someone, you should blame me for being too excellent, which is why you couldn't help but fall in love with me." My confident words earned a nod of approval from Zhou Siyuan. He looked at me, and I looked at him. We were both waiting for the other to change the subject first. In fact, I was just pretending to be calm on the surface. Inside, I was already screaming, but I couldn't show it. Otherwise, with Zhou Siyuan's sensitivity, he would surely think that I was disgusted by him. In the previous life, I did agree to marry Zhou Siyuan under the matchmaking of my parents, but at that time, I was still immersed in the betrayal of Shenemo and Zhou Siyue, and my parents were heartbroken when they saw it. They didn't know where they heard the saying that if you want to forget a relationship, you should start a new one. They actively encouraged me to move on and look at the whole forest instead of hang herself from the tree of Shenemo. I didn't want to worry my parents, so I forced myself to get to know the young talents they mentioned. Zhou Siyuan noticed my unhappiness and specially held a family meeting with my parents. He asked my parents not to put so much pressure on me and solemnly promised them that even if I didn't get married for the rest of my life, after they passed away, as my brother, he would take good care of me. His words were a bit rough, and my parents' faces darkened a bit when they heard them. As a result, he took out a lifetime employment contract and promised to stay in the Zhou group and work for the Zhou family for the rest of his life and not start his own business. If he breached the contract, all his income after leaving the Zhou group would also be transferred to my name unconditionally as compensation. This was a closed loop. He had already signed the contract, and his attitude was very clear. My parents were stunned. They were touched by Zhou Siyuan's dedication to the Zhou family. Although they had raised an ungrateful person like Zhou Siyue, they still had Zhou Siyuan, who was grateful and loyal. Of course, they didn't accept the contract, but they also listened to Zhou Siyuan's decision and stopped forcing me. I watched the whole process. At that time, on a whim, looking at Zhou Siyuan, who was being praised by my parents, with a rebellious attitude, I stood up and said that Zhou Siyuan talked a good talk, just like Zhou Siyue always said nice things to please people. But in the end, she still showed her true colors. I shouted that I would never believe him again, unless he married me and moved into the Zhou family, becoming a real member of the Zhou family. Then, when my parents heard this, their eyes lit up, and they smiled happily, saying yes repeatedly. Just like that, the marriage between me and Zhou Siyuan was decided in a rather dramatic way. If Zhou Siyue hadn't suddenly gone abroad and made it impossible for Shenemo to find her, and if Shenemo hadn't thought that I had forced her away and come back to pursue me again, and if I hadn't been so foolish as to reconcile with Shenemo, then Zhou Siyuan and I might have really changed from siblings to husband and wife. However, from beginning to end, I thought that Zhou Siyuan was treating me well and agreeing to move into my family because he had deep feelings for the Zhou family. When we went to the orphanage to adopt him, the director said that not long after Zhou Siyuan was born, his parents died in a car accident. His relatives all thought that he was a jinx, and no one was willing to raise him, so they abandoned him in the orphanage. Although Chinese people say they believe in science, sometimes they are contradictory and believe in such things. After hearing that Zhou Siyuan was a bad luck to his parents, they didn't want to adopt him. Zhou Siyue was 3 years younger than Zhou Siyuan and was also abandoned at the gate of the orphanage not long after she was born. In the orphanage, the older children had to take on the responsibility of taking care of the younger siblings. Zhou Siyue was essentially raised by Zhou Siyuan, and they had a deep relationship. When we went to the orphanage to adopt a child, Zhou Siyue was well taken care of by Zhou Siyuan. Her clothes were neat, her little face was clean, and her braids were beautifully done. Among the group of messy children, Zhou Siyue stood out. Moreover, she had a sweet mouth. While the other children were timid and didn't dare to approach me, she was enthusiastic and proactive. She got familiar with me after just a few words, and we started playing together quickly, so I proposed to take her as my sister. However, Zhou Siyue's reaction wasn't as happy as I had imagined. She didn't agree immediately. Only after I pressed her did I find out that she didn't want to be separated from Zhou Siyuan. When my parents saw Zhou Siyuan, they thought he was good-looking. After asking, they found out that he also had excellent academic performance. At my request, Zhou Siyuan and Zhou Siyue were adopted together. Logically speaking, Zhou Siyuan and Zhou Siyue should have a deeper relationship than I do with either of them. It was only then that I realized that what Zhou Siyuan had just said was that both he and Zhou Siyue were sick. Given that Jo Si-yoon regarded his feelings for me as sick, then what about Jo Si-yue? I voiced the doubt in my heart. Jo Si-yoon was silent for a long time before he finally opened his mouth with difficulty. 2 years ago, Si-yue confessed her feelings to me. So after all this, Jo Si-yue couldn't get Jo Si-yoon. And then she found out that Jo Si-yoon liked me. So she wanted me to taste the pain of a broken heart too. That's why she stole Shinemo from me. It turned out that the source of all this was Jo Si-yoon, although it's true that what can be stolen isn't worth clinging to. After learning this melodramatic truth, I still took my anger out on Jo Si-yoon. Yes, I just wanted to take my anger out on him. After ignoring Jo Si-yoon for several days in a row, my parents finally dully noticed that the atmosphere between us was off. One night, my mother specifically came to my room and said that she hadn't slept with me for a long time. And she wanted to have a heart-to-heart talk with me all night. Her way of trying to get information out of me was really clumsy. After just a few words, she abruptly shifted the topic to Jo Si-yoon. Seeing how worried she was about me, I directly told her the reason for my Cold War with Jo Si-yoon. After hearing this, my mother was so angry that she opened a bottle of wine and said she wanted to scold Jo Si-yue while drinking. I knew that she had actually been hurt by Jo Si-yue too. Just as I regarded Jo Si-yue as my real sister, my mother also regarded Jo Si-yue as her real daughter. Although we can scold her, Mom still has to say something fair for Si-yoon. This isn't his fault. He can't control matters of the heart. Si-yue likes him, he likes you, and you liked Shinemo. Stop, I don't like Shinemo now. Don't talk nonsense. Okay, then do you like Si-yoon? Old ginger is spicier. Experience makes one more skillful. I was left speechless by my mother's question. My mother looked at me with a knowing smile. Hesitating means you're a little attracted, but not to the extent of liking yet. My mother had an expression that said, "You don't need to say more, I understand everything," and continued, "Mom is an experienced person, you two are in the ambiguous stage, right?" Blushing, I pushed my mother out of my room to stop her from saying more nonsense. Just after my mother left, the door was knocked again. I opened the door, and Jo Si-yoon was standing outside holding a cup of honey water. "Mom asked me to bring you this honey water." I put my hand on my forehead. My mother really couldn't wait to stir up trouble. I took the honey water from Jo Si-yoon, thanked him, and was about to close the door, but I didn't succeed. His hand blocked the door. "Do you have something else to say?" He nodded. "Yes, I want to say that if you don't want to see me, I can move out of here." I raised my eyebrows and deliberately asked, "What about the company? Won't you go there either?" His expression froze for a moment, and then he said, "It's okay, for work arrangements, I can work from home, and Secretary Chen can teach you the operations in the company." He really made arrangements. It seemed that if I didn't make things clear today, he really intended to make me feel at ease by not seeing him. I drank the honey water in one gulp, calmed down my emotions, and then said, "It's not that I don't want to see you, I'm thinking about how to deal with our relationship, Jo Si-yoon. There's no need to deal with it, we can just be like before, nothing has changed." I didn't expect you to be the kind of person who runs away from problems, or is your love really that unmentionable? Jo Si-yoon became excited. "Of course not, I just don't want to make you feel awkward." "You haven't made any expressions of your feelings, nor have you taken any actions. How can you be sure that I'm feeling awkward instead of happy?" Jo Si-yoon looked a bit stunned. "What do you mean?" I gave him a reproachful look. "It means that you should bravely pursue me. Let me tell you, I'm very hard to chase now. If you can't make me feel that I can't live without you, you'll just have to be my admirer for the rest of your life. Think carefully before you pursue me." After saying that, regardless of what Jo Si-yoon thought, I closed the door with a bang. I covered my burning face, feeling embarrassed about my words just now that sounded like those of a heartless woman, but it's better to get the unpleasant things out in the open. Whether to pursue me or not is his choice. After experiencing Shinemo, the ultimate scumbag, I know that it will be very difficult for me to trust other men in the future, but Jo Si-yoon is different. In the previous life, he was good to me and wholeheartedly took care of the Jo family. In this life, I'm willing to believe that he will be the same as in the previous life. However, since I have a second chance at life, I don't want to get lost again in others' kindness to me and then plunge in headfirst and be unable to get out. It's best to be in control of my own destiny. After talking things through with Jo Si-yoon, he didn't seem to become much more enlightened. Our relationship returned to the state before the Cold War, and then it stopped there. Jo Si-yoon and I still go to and from work together every day. If I make mistakes or cause problems in the company, I will still be stared at coldly by him and asked, "Do you have water in your head to make such a lower mistake?" Then he will add, "Your salary and bonus will be deducted." I'm already working and paying out of my own pocket, so what else can he deduct? Even when I get home, I can't get away from work. Jo Si-yoon and I each have a desk in the study, facing each other. And we do our own things. The only thing better than in the company is that at home he won't have a cold expression. When I ask him about things I don't understand, he will explain them to me very patiently. My parents have seen my progress and are very pleased. They finally have the sense of accomplishment of our daughter has grown up. In the past, their catchphrase to me was, "Don't always think about having fun. Find something serious to do." Now their catchphrase to me is, "Don't always be busy with work. Go out and have fun to balance work and rest." Well, this weekend, both Jo Si-yoon and I were driven out of the house by our parents and told to go out and have fun. The intention of matchmaking is just too obvious. Jo Si-yoon and I looked at each other. Since we were already out, we decided to find a place to have fun. Speaking of having fun, I haven't ridden a horse for a long time, and I haven't seen my precious Mianhua for a long time. My Mianhua is a pure white horse, and it's extremely gentle. Jo Si-yoon also has a pure black horse named Moyun. When the two horses were let out, they affectionately rubbed against each other and couldn't be pulled apart. Jo Si-yoon and we underestimated it. The pets got into a relationship before their owners, so Jo Si-yoon and I each led a horse and walked slowly. We met an acquaintance head-on. Strictly speaking, this is Shin Mo's friend named Gu Huai, who is also a rich second-generation young master. As soon as he saw me, he frowned and asked bluntly, "Are you really done with Shin Mo?" I gave him an unkind look. "What do you think?" Gu Huai scratched his head and softened his tone. "Oh, I didn't mean to blame you. Have you heard? Aunt Shin is pregnant. Since your engagement with Shin Mo is off, he might really be given up by Uncle Shin and Aunt Shin this time." I already knew this, but I pretended to be very surprised. I haven't been idle these past few months. Shin Mo was penniless. Instead of following the old path of the previous life and working as a laborer, he took a risk and borrowed from loan sharks. He thought that with his knowledge of the future, his investment and entrepreneurship would definitely succeed. His thinking was still stuck in the achievements he had made in his high position in the previous life. He didn't consider that when borrowing from loan sharks without any collateral, he could at most borrow a few 100,000 yuan, and the projects he wanted to engage in required hundreds of millions of yuan. When he went to talk about cooperation with just a few 100,000 yuan, people would only laugh at him for being unrealistic and send him away directly. I sent people to follow him. Whenever he was going to talk about a project, I would intercept it. I don't have the memory of those profitable projects from the previous life, so I simply followed behind Shin Mo and took advantage of the opportunities he missed. It was really successful every time. Shin Mo wasn't without the thought of seeking help from his rich second-generation friends, such as Gu Huai in front of us. But the rich second generation are under the control of the rich first generation. My parents had already spread the word that whoever cooperated with Shin Mo, the Zhou group would target them, and Shin Mo's parents didn't express any opinion on this statement from my parents, which meant they didn't want to interfere. Shin Mo's parents intended to test Shin Mo's ability. After all, it was very dangerous to hand over a large group to an impulsive person driven by love. If this person driven by love didn't have the ability to solve problems, it would be more practical to quickly train a new account, have a second child. Unfortunately, after being intercepted by me several times, Shin Mo, after several months, had nothing to show for it except for the mounting debts with compound interest. Otherwise, he wouldn't have come to me last time and said that ridiculous thing about being willing to marry me. He really deserved to be severely beaten by Jo Si-yoon. Did he think he was an emperor in the feudal era? He thought that marrying me was a favor he was bestowing on me. It's really laughable. It was after learning about this incident that Shin Mo's parents made up their minds to train a new account, have a second child. Gu Huai didn't get any useful information from me. On the contrary, I got a lot of the latest news about Shin Mo from him. Shin Mo was being chased by loan sharks to repay the money, and he couldn't pay it back. The people from the loan sharks saw that Jo Si-yoon was somewhat good-looking and wanted to take her to pay off the debt. Shin Mo fought with them and ended up having 2 of his legs broken. When talking about this, Gu Huai's tone was angry because Jo Si-yoon, this woman, left Shin Mo in the hospital and ran away. The hospital had no choice but to contact Shin Mo's parents. After all, he was their biological son, and they couldn't just watch him die. They found the best orthopedic expert to treat Shinmo's legs and also helped him pay off the loan from the loan sharks. Up to this point, if Shinmo had acted pitifully and begged for mercy from his parents like he did in the previous life, he could still have returned to the Shin family, but for some reason, Shinmo, upon learning that his mother was pregnant with a second child, actually threatened his mother to abort the second child by refusing to cooperate with the treatment. His mother, who had been a bit soft-hearted towards him, was so angry that she didn't care about his life or death anymore. Anyway, it wasn't her legs that were broken. Whether he wanted to be treated or not was up to him. His father was also extremely disappointed in him. Such a confused son wasn't worth keeping. Well, now Shinmo couldn't return to the Shin family, and Zhou Siyue was nowhere to be found. I didn't want him to misunderstand that I had forced Zhou Siyue away again. So I spent some effort to find Zhou Siyue. Fortunately, in this life, no one gave her money and sent her abroad. She was still in the country, just in a different city, and she was doing quite well. It seemed that she didn't have much true love for Shinmo either. She had hidden a lot of keisto. She was really good at making plans for herself. She had saved a lot of money during her years in the Zhou family, and my parents didn't take it back when Shinmo was in urgent need of money. She didn't take it out for him to use. I decided to be a good person to the end. I called a same-city delivery service and sent Zhou Siyue's whereabouts and bank statements to Shinmo. Later, I heard that Shinmo refused to leave Zhou Siyue's place and forced her to take out money for his entrepreneurship. Zhou Siyue had no choice but to give him money several times, but each time it was a complete loss. After several times, she couldn't afford to keep giving money to Shinmo like this. And no matter what he said, she refused to take out any more money. After several failed attempts at entrepreneurship, Shinmo's arrogance was turned into self-abasement. He drank alcohol at home all day long, and when he was drunk, he would beat the Zhou Siyue he claimed to love deeply. Zhou Siyue called the police, and when the police came, they said it was a marital conflict. They gave Shinmo a lecture and considered it settled. Yes, the two of them got married. They got married the first time Shinmo convinced Zhou Siyue to take out money for his entrepreneurship. The two of them really had a gambler's mentality. Zhou Siyue was gambling that Shinmo could succeed in his entrepreneurship. The promises Shinmo made to her were so attractive that only by becoming husband and wife could she have a share of the money Shinmo would earn in the future. Shinmo was gambling that he and Zhou Siyue would definitely be happy. Everyone said that he was blind and couldn't distinguish between good and bad. He wanted to prove to me that it was my loss to have missed him. Shin's father, get out. I don't have a son as stupid as you. From now on, there will be no Shinmo in the Shin family. He once said that with just one word from me, he could immediately abandon Zhou Siyue and come back to marry me. I was so scared that I didn't dare to send any words of provocation, sarcasm, or blessing to him, for fear that he would misunderstand that I wanted him to change his mind and marry me. Later, until I was recognized by my parents and the board of directors and officially took over the Zhou group, I didn't hear any news about these two people. By then, Shinmo's younger brother, Shin Zhao, was already 3 years old and old enough to go to kindergarten. Our Zhao and Shin family still had interactions. Shin Zhao didn't resemble Shinmo. Shinmo took after his father, while Shin Zhao resembled his mother more. He was extremely cute, and I took a liking to him at first sight. As a result, I often visited the Shin family. The rift between the two families caused by Shinmo was gradually mended by little Shin Zhao. Today was the day Shin Zhao started kindergarten, and as his honorary sister, I came along to see him off. Zhou Siyuan accompanied me. Seeing how reluctant I was to part with Shin Zhao, he suggested, how about letting him start kindergarten a bit later? I replied, that won't do. He also needs playmates of his own age. Zhou Siyuan then said, what if we have a child for him to play with? Not long after Shin Zhao was born, I went to the hospital for a check-up and found that there was nothing wrong with my body. Looking at Zhou Siyuan, who was full of anticipation and nervously waiting for my answer, I said, it depends on your performance. Story 2. During the earthquake, I grabbed Ling Jing, who was rushing in to save his beloved, and as a result, I ended up breaking my leg. On the day Ling Jing and I got married, the girl he loved, disfigured from the disaster, committed suicide by jumping off a building. He never said anything and spent decades helping me, the one with the injured leg, through rehabilitation. On our 10th anniversary, he pushed me, pregnant, into the middle of the road. Before turning to leave, he asked me, Chenrongji, do you now understand what it feels like to be completely helpless? As the car ran over me, I realized how deeply he hated me. When I opened my eyes again, reborn at the moment the building collapsed, I let go of his hand. Ling Jing, run. As the load-bearing wall fell, Ling Jing resolutely pulled his hand away from mine. As I tried to throw myself towards him, I stopped and looked at him through the thick dust. In my past life, I had pulled him back desperately, using my body to shield him from the falling wall. When the sharp rocks hit, the excruciating pain made me lose my mind. I thought I was going to die, and with my last bit of strength, I whispered in his ear, Ling Jing, you must find happiness. Later, when I woke up in the hospital and saw that only half of my right leg remained, I couldn't describe what I felt. Realizing that I could no longer pursue my passion for fencing, I broke down and cried desperately. But Ling Jing's mother came to see me, kneeling on the ground begging me not to cry, saying they would only get up if I stopped. That once cheerful boy stood by my side helplessly, wiping my tears with his trembling hands. Gigi, let's get married, I will take care of you for life. In that moment, a profound sense of love momentarily smoothed the deep crevices within my heart. I always thought the deep look Ling Jing gave me was one of awakened love. Until the moment the car tire crushed my abdomen, and I realized it was instead profound hatred. No, I have to save Qiu. She's still inside. Ling Jing's harsh shout interrupted my memory, his waving hand signaling me to stay away. Looking at his still youthful face, the memories of the past 10 years were clear in my mind, remembering how he had supported me through countless rehabilitation sessions, how he had tightly held me in his arms each time I fell. But I also remembered, on our 10th wedding anniversary, how he had pushed me, who had removed my prosthetic leg, into the middle of the road, whispering in my ear, Chenroji, do you remember what day it is? My Xiaoqiu, she has been gone for 10 years now. She had accepted my proposal. Everything was supposed to get better. I want you to experience this feeling of utter helplessness. His voice was filled with hatred, like a sharp knife brutally piercing my heart. The swiftly passing car wheel crossed over my abdomen, the bright blood staining the pregnancy test in my pocket red. That was the surprise I had prepared for Ling Jing on our 10th anniversary. Don't come over. Ling Jing turned and ran upstairs, glancing back at me, thinking I would stop him at all costs. But this time, I wouldn't. I was later discovered by the rescue team and placed in an ambulance. The whereabouts of Ling Jing and Xiaoqiu were unknown. I didn't know if he had found her, if he had managed to save the girl he loved. I closed my eyes, Ling Jing's words from his previous life still echoing in my ears. Life and death are decreed by fate. What makes you think you have the right to intervene in my life and death? I love Qiu, and I would willingly die for her. What right do you have to stop me? Sadly, our decade of friendship didn't compare to the month he had known Xiaoqiu. The once ambitious him skipped an exam for her, missing out on all awards. He said he had never met someone so perfectly suited to him, yet, one never considers whether such a perfect match for him could possibly exist. The ambulance took us to the hospital for checks, where I saw Ling Jing's mother, her face drawn with exhaustion as she grabbed my hand. Where's Ling Jing? I shook my head. I don't know. Weren't you together? How could you not save him? I was at a loss for words. In my previous life, Ling's mother initially showed gratitude towards me, but later she frequently criticized my disability, insisting that her son's acceptance of me was my fortune. She even secretly set him up with girlfriends more than once. Whenever I lost my temper, she would clutch her chest and feign illness, causing Ling Jing to shield her and silence me. He went in to save others. I couldn't stop him. I looked at Ling's mother, no longer wanting to say anything unnecessary. Ling Jing lost his father early, and his mother raised him alone. Seeing him about to graduate, I couldn't imagine how his mother would cope if something happened to him. How could you do this? How could you not stop him? You just watched him go to his death. How can you be so cruel? People began to gather around as Ling's mother, clutching her chest, collapsed to the ground sobbing loudly. My son has been with her for so many years, taking care of her for so long, and she just ran out by herself, leaving my son trapped inside. A reporter by her side set up a camera aiming at me, while several onlookers raised their phones, likely capturing this moment. I could already imagine the online outrage, with countless uninformed comments painting me as ungrateful. At that moment, a blood-stained stretcher was brought in from the entrance. Ling's mother, who had been sitting on the ground, suddenly sprang up and rushed over. It was Ling Jing, his body covered in blood, his arm tightly wrapped in bandages, the flesh beneath gruesomely visible. You're insane. Why did you go and try to save someone? What would I do if something happened to you? Her cries of despair echoed down the hallway, but Ling Jing managed a pale smile. I saved Qiu. As long as Qiu is safe, I'm willing to do anything." The faces of those around them shifted. Chiu. Could it be another girl? Hasn't he been with someone for a long time? How come there's suddenly a Chiu? Isn't this moral blackmail? Is only your son's life valuable, and everyone else's doesn't matter? As public sentiment shifted, Ling's mother, pale-faced, fell backwards without another word. It seemed that this time, it wasn't an act. Medical staff rushed over to them, while I turned and walked into the examination room across the hall, ignoring the scene. The examination confirmed I was all right. As I left the hospital, I heard news about Ling Jing. He had survived but sadly would need an amputation of his arm. In this life, the roles had changed. The injured party was now him, and he became the one who saved his loved one. May the road ahead be smooth for Yu Xiaoqiu as he accompanies him, standing outside the ICU, watching the blinking red light. I remembered Yu Xiaoqiu's face from my previous life. When the building shook and everyone was running out, Yu Xiaoqiu held her phone, her tone resolute. "Say you love me, or I'll die right here. I won't run, Shui Yi. If you don't agree, I won't live." I had seen her with that senior from the director's department, on and off again, laughing with her friends. Ling Jing, I'm just playing with him. If I don't act a bit serious, how would Shui Yi feel the pain? So I wanted to stop Ling Jing, to help him escape a fate he shouldn't endure. Even if he was secretly fond of someone else, even though he pushed me away harshly for someone else, I still cherished our years of friendship. Out of a sense of integrity, I wanted to help him escape his predicament. But since he chose to leap without looking back, it was as he said, life and death are predestined, and wealth is determined by fate. A month later, I saw Ling Jing again. His right hand, once his pride on the basketball court, had been amputated, leaving barely a stump wrapped in bandages, making his movements difficult. Ling's mother seemed to have aged 10 years, her voice hoarse one moment and clear the next. She could hardly make a sound now. I brought a bouquet of flowers to greet him as he was discharged from the hospital and calmly told him that we were breaking up. Ling Jing did not ask me to stay because during his recovery, Xiaoqiu had visited him many times, tearfully declaring her love and promising to stay with him for life. I thought this was a good ending for both of us. After Ling Jing left, I stared blankly in his nearly empty hospital room, a place I once stayed in a previous life. Back then, I thought Ling Jing could save me. But now I understood that only I could save myself. Glancing over, I expected to see Ling Jing and Xiaoqiu in a loving embrace, but instead, I saw a petite girl wrapped in Shui Ye's arms, kissing passionately. My phone rang abruptly, breaking my stare. It was my mom calling. As I answered and looked down again, Ling Jing had reached the ground floor, and Shui Yi was no longer by Xiaoqiu's side. She rushed into Ling Jing's arms with a bright bouquet of roses and a smile of happiness. "Hello, Mom," I said, my eyes still fixed on the scene below. Ling Jing, unaware of what had just transpired, struggled to raise his shortened arm in an attempt to embrace Xiaoqiu but ultimately failed. "Gigi, where have you been?" My mother's voice sounded urgent over the phone. In my previous life, after I broke my leg, she was devastated, but she never blamed Ling Jing. After we were married, she occasionally expressed her concerns about Ling Jing being a deep thinker and whether he was a good choice. Ling Jing always appeared obedient in front of her and was exceptionally gentle with me. I even argued with her a few times, asking her not to overthink. It was only after being reborn that I understood her intuition, born out of love. Perhaps if I had listened to her sooner, things might have turned out differently. "Don't worry, Mom, I've already said goodbye to Ling Jing," I said softly, but as I looked down, I felt a jolt through my body. Not far away, Shui Yi stood with his hands in his pockets among the flowers, looking up and meeting my gaze with a cynical smile. He placed his index finger near his lips, making a shush gesture, his eyes conveying a dangerous warning to keep silent. As for someone like Xiaoqiu, it wasn't surprising that she attracted many admirers. Even among the beauties of the performing arts department, she stood out with her long, deep-set eyes that seemed to capture the galaxies, mesmerizing anyone who looked into them. It was said that several well-known directors had offered her roles, but Xiaoqiu had turned them down, stating she wanted to save her debut for Shui Yi. Unfortunately, in her previous life, fate was not kind to her, and her proud face was scarred in an earthquake. Her appearance was completely destroyed. At that time, Ling Jing left me, who was recovering from surgery, and secretly visited Yu Xiaoqiu. However, he was invariably rejected. He always thought that Yu Xiaoqiu refused to see him because of her disfigurement, thinking that she was driven to despair and suicide because he was forced to marry me. But he didn't know that on the day Yu Xiaoqiu jumped from the building, Shui Yi posted a status update. In the photo, he was holding hands with a girl, their fingers interlocked, looking blissfully enviable to others. Sadly, after losing a leg, 10 years of hardship never compensated for the slight imperfection Yu Xiaoqiu represented in his heart. He blamed all her suffering on me. Yet he never knew that she never really cared about him from the start. Back then, I was almost in despair. Now that I think about it, how different was my so-called devotion from Ling Jing's reckless one-sided affection. When I returned to school, much of it had been rebuilt. Facing graduation, everyone was sending out resumes. In a previous life, Ling Jing was exceptionally outstanding in many aspects. His distinguished appearance quickly caught the attention of HRs, but now, he could only sit in front of small, unpopular companies, awkwardly writing his name with his clumsy left hand. Although most companies did not say anything outright, the looks they gave Ling Jing were more of pity than admiration. I had tasted the despair of cold stares in the past, and now he was getting his share. Rongji, I'd like to ask about your attitude towards career and family relationships. The interviewer in front of me, holding my resume, looked at me with interest. As a single young woman, I always faced my share of skepticism during job interviews, which I understood. I turned my head, memories flickering in my mind, and after a moment, I spoke firmly. I was born a mountain, not a stream. The interviewer paused for a moment, surprised, then smiled gently and nodded. Okay, Rongji, one last question. You've chosen to be a wheelchair fencing coach. Can you explain what special meaning this holds for you? My hand under the table touched my right knee and slowly rotated my ankle. The surprise of regaining what was lost still lingered in my heart. In a previous life, I faced repeated rejections, growing to despise the fencing I once loved. Every time I saw my favorite competition programs, I would furiously smash the TV. It wasn't until much later, when my mindset had calmed, that I began to explore wheelchair fencing. The female coach I met then handed me a sword, saying that even without legs, as long as I grew wings, I could still fly. Unfortunately, by then my physical abilities had declined too much to pick up my dream again. Given a chance to start over, and understanding the pain inflicted upon me, I wanted more people to enjoy the joy of life with me. Faster, higher, further is a testament to will for me. I believe that physical limitations should never confine anyone's pursuit of their dreams. These were the words once said to me by the coach in my past life, and they were the belated comfort I offered myself. As the event ended, I saw Ling Jing and Yu Xiaoqiu. She stood by his side, strikingly noticeable, her voice sweet and delicate. Ling Jing, don't worry if you don't have a job, it's okay, I will take care of you for life. Hearing this familiar dialogue, I smiled softly. I'll introduce you to a job through someone I know, one that's not too tiring and pays well. I don't need your introduction. I don't believe there's no company that wants me. Xiaoqiu, just give me some time, believe in me. Yu Xiaoqiu clearly didn't like Ling Jing. Her comprehensive care was probably to avoid societal criticism, yet Ling Jing was once considered a favorite son of the heavens. How could he possibly bear to accept a girl's charity? Even today, he still believes he has a chance to make something of himself. However, by skipping an exam to accompany Xiaoqiu to a competition, his academic record now bears a glaring blemish. Moreover, recovery is a long process. Ling Jing has lost the high starting point he had in his previous life, and reaching the heights he once achieved would now require 100-fold more effort. I walked past the two of them without turning my head, but as I passed by, I distinctly heard Ling Jing's deliberately amplified voice. Xiaoqiu, I will make you happy. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw him turn and wrap his arms around her waist, glancing subtly in my direction. I pretended not to hear and didn't look back, my mind filled with the image of the 18-year-old boy who had waited under my apartment building all night, holding a jar of stars, hesitantly telling me, Chenrongji, I got into the same university as you, can we be together? I will definitely make you happy. Closing my eyes, the image of the willow fluff and the boy's sweat-soaked white shirt seemed still before me. We had put so much effort into being together, yet ultimately, we were defeated by time. Gigi, a sweet voice interrupted my thoughts. Su Linyu ran up to me, bouncing and jumping, and crashed into my embrace. For the graduation play, come be an actor for me. Su Linyu and I met in a club. Coming from a well-off family in the director's department, she was just waiting to graduate and study abroad. Being young and free of worries, her biggest concern now was the school's graduation assignment to direct a short film. I linked my arm through hers and nodded in agreement. Perhaps to spare me the sadness of a breakup, she intentionally stood to my right, blocking Ling Jing and Yu Xiaoqiu. Ling Jing's mother came to the school a few days ago looking for Yu Xiaoqiu, making a huge scene. She said, alive, she's part of the Ling family, dead, she'll be the Ling family's ghost, and even demanded that Yu Xiaoqiu hurry up and give her a grandson. Who wouldn't be driven mad by such a mother-in-law? As she spoke, she sneakily watched my expression, seemingly worried I would be upset. Yu, Ling Jing and I have broken up. I don't want to hear any news about him anymore. I was at a major crossroads in life, with things far more important than so-called love. I didn't want someone who could never again be part of my life to interfere. That would be a punishment to myself. Su Linyu's script was based on a female school principal from a remote mountain area. I played a girl who, pressured by her family to marry, had to give up her studies. During rehearsals, I noticed we were next to the venue managed by Shui Yi, where Yu Xiaoqiu was the lead actress. The two of them spent every day together, their relationship an open secret across half the campus, but given Shui Yi's family background, no one dared to speak openly. Ling Jing had initially received positive responses from the companies he applied to, but for some unknown reason, all had suddenly gone silent. He had no choice but to accept Yu Xiaoqiu's arrangement and rely on connections to join a company, reportedly with a decent salary, but this meant that he would have to live beneath others, becoming what he had always loathed, a beneficiary of nepotism. According to my past life's course, he should be undergoing rehabilitation now, enduring a grueling period post-amputation, repeatedly coming to terms with his changes and facing his deepest wounds. Ling Jing's emotions began to destabilize, and he needed Yu Xiaoqiu's companionship to fill the void in his heart. However, Yu Xiaoqiu's heart wasn't in it. To ensure she was in peak condition on camera, she needed to sleep and wake early and maintain a regular schedule. Perhaps because she was immersed in the nourishment of love, she seemed even more beautiful. During breaks in rehearsal, I often heard her impatiently say on the phone, I told you I'm busy, tonight. Our crew has a meeting, and I can't accompany you. Sometimes, when Ling Jing came looking for her, she would find an excuse to leave and then instruct those around her, don't tell him I'm here. On Valentine's Day, Ling Jing came to find Yu Xiaoqiu with flowers in his arms, but Yu Xiaoqiu was busy rehearsing and didn't even greet him. In front of everyone, Ling Jing couldn't help but lose his temper. He threw the flowers to the ground furiously and coldly demanded, Yu Xiaoqiu, I've called you so many times and you didn't answer. What are you trying to do? During the stunned silence that followed, Yu Xiaoqiu didn't offer him any kindness. Accustomed to commanding attention from the boys with her beauty, she was not used to such treatment and quickly retorted, Ling Jing, I'm busy. Normal people like us have a lot to deal with every day, not like you, always so free. She emphasized the words normal people, clearly provoking Ling Jing, who stood there, too angry to speak. Yu Xiaoqiu, do you even care? Who do you think changed for whom? Have you no shame? I never asked you to rescue me. You did that on your own. Maybe I would have been fine without your help. Why should I be indebted to you? Don't forget who got you your job. I don't owe you anything. Ling Jing was both angered and agitated by her response. In his agitation, he almost pointed a finger at her but ended up only waving his empty sleeve, nearly tripping over a chair in front of him. From a distance, I looked at Ling Jing, once called a genius by teachers, now standing desolately among the crowd, enduring silent humiliation and deceit, and I couldn't help but look away. People only realize the value of something once they lose it, otherwise, they can never truly appreciate it. Just like Yu Xiaoqiu, who will never know what she might have become without Ling Jing, just like Ling Jing, who will never know that if I hadn't held him back then, he would be facing the predicament he is in now. So, just as he didn't thank me back then, Yu Xiaoqiu doesn't thank him now. That day, the rehearsal schedule was disrupted, so after everyone left, I stayed back to continue practicing the movements. In the short film, I played a martial artist who came from the mountains, needing to display fencing moves at the end of the film, but having come back to life, my movements were rusty, and I kept practicing over and over. Later, the stage lights went out, and I was practicing my thrusts in the dim light when I suddenly noticed a vague shadow sitting in the audience. Who's there? Startled, I almost dropped my sword. You're very impressive. It was Shui Yi. He raised his eyebrows, his dark pupils ghostly. Ling Jing doesn't deserve you. Thinking he was warning me not to speak out of turn, I brought up the issue proactively. I won't speak of what happened between you and Yu Xiaoqiu. He chuckled, his eyes relaxing, a hint of drunken haziness as he moved closer. Yu Xiaoqiu isn't right for you. I prefer a leading lady like you, tough as wild grass, not one so delicate. I smelled the mix of perfume and alcohol on him and frowned, stepping back. Shui fancied himself a great artist from a prominent family, often flirtatiously misbehaving. Perhaps those girls had their reasons for silently enduring his advances, but I coldly glanced at him and stepped back. Who I'm with is my business, and it has nothing to do with you. I took off my costume, intending to leave, but Shui followed, grabbing my sleeve. Chenroji, has anyone ever told you that you're quite unique? If we got together, do you think Ling Jing would be very upset? Do you want to see him come back and chase after you? I admit. For a moment, I was truly tempted, but I quickly suppressed that thought. I don't need a man's pursuit to validate my charm, nor do I need a man's regret to prove my worth. My perfection doesn't need to be highlighted by any man or woman. I don't want to have anything to do with Ling Jing anymore. If you bother me again, I will make everything I know public, and it won't be good for you either. I coldly took off my costume and walked out of the theater. After that day, Ling Jing started to give Yu Xiaoqiu the cold shoulder. He stopped coming to the theater to look for her and also stopped appearing with her at school. He thought this was a punishment for Xiaoqiu, but little did he realize that this was exactly what she wanted. On my birthday, Su Linyue mobilized the entire crew to celebrate for me. At the restaurant, I received an anonymous text message. "Aji, happy birthday." This nickname instinctively made me think of Ling Jing. He used it in the first love letter he wrote to me when he was 17. Almost without hesitation, I pressed the delete button. When I left the restaurant, surrounded by a crowd, I was slightly drunk. A boy at my side tried a few times to come over and support me but hesitated and withdrew his hand each time. I noticed but didn't say anything. Under the streetlight, I saw a tall, thin figure standing there lonely. The boy at my side noticed first and silently walked a bit further away. Aji. Ling Jing's voice was extremely restrained, but still fluctuating with emotion. "Happy birthday." After a very brief conversation, I nodded. "Thank you." He held a bunch of clumsily folded paper stars in his left hand. "They're not folded well." He stepped forward, and I stepped back. The howling wind blew, scattering the paper stars on the ground, and neither of us bent down to pick them up. "I'm going to Beijing for a prosthetic fitting," he said, his voice tinged with a hint of grievance. During the 4 years we were together, I never missed any major event in his life. I was always by his side during his toughest times. In our sophomore year, he fell off his bike and injured his arm, his shirt soaked with blood, but still, without a word, he held the birthday cake he had prepared for me. But as I rolled up his sleeve, the boy much taller than me puckered his lips and tears started to fall. Such an indomitable person appeared so vulnerable in front of me, but now, in such a difficult moment, I would no longer be by his side. "I wish you well." My face was devoid of any smile as I spoke coldly. "Aji, why are you so heartless? Can't we even be friends anymore?" People nearby looked over from a distance, their eyes filled with questioning. I lifted my gaze and fixed it on him. "Ling Jing, don't call me like that. You don't deserve it. You think it's old love rekindled, but it's just your desire to seek some warmth from me when you're rejected and neglected. But you should know, I'm the kind of person who can't tolerate the slightest betrayal. The moment you decided to push me away, you should have understood that we can't be friends anymore. Ling Jing, don't think you can use your so-called affectionate facade to manipulate me. Life and death are predestined. Wealth is in the hands of fate. That was your choice. It's up to you to endure it." I smiled at him, then turned and walked towards my friends. And we headed off into the distance together. As graduation approached, the days seemed to fly by. During the daily rehearsals, a month had unconsciously passed. Shui began to send me some expensive gifts every now and then. Sometimes it was a luxurious brand ring in my backpack, other times a limited edition skirt that was hard to come by. I knew this was not love at first sight. It was merely a game for Shui to pass the time when he was idle after meals. I paid it no mind, as I had already received an offer from the provincial team's coach and started to get involved in coaching. According to the plan, I was to train the newly formed fencing team, and in 3 months, I would lead them to an important competition. On Yu Xiaoqiu's birthday, Ling Jing suddenly returned. He and his mother arrived unexpectedly, with him wearing a new prosthetic arm, likely choosing this day to break the ice and surprise Yu Xiaoqiu. Ling's mother was the one who told me this. After such a major ordeal, she looked much more worn and was exceptionally gentle towards me. Jiji, Jing is like a child who never grows up, always needing someone to worry about him. You've known him for so many years, you understand him. Sometimes he acts rashly, but deep down, he is very sentimental. In a previous life, after we were married, she had said this to other women numerous times. The implication clear without being stated. Now, hearing it again undoubtedly disgusted me. No one is a perpetual child, he's an adult man and should be responsible for his actions, whether he is sentimental or not, that has nothing to do with me. He has a girlfriend now, you should be speaking with her. I was about to leave after saying this. But Ling's mother grabbed me. The reason I'm intervening is that I value you and hope to bring you two together, otherwise, as you know, he and his current girlfriend are also doing well, and he's found a job. If it weren't for Jing losing an arm, it wouldn't be your turn, she said with a hint of pride when speaking of her son, seemingly unaware of the various incidents involving Ling Jing, like him finding a job through connections or arguing with Yu Xiaoqiu. Ling's mother didn't really like me, she just thought Yu Xiaoqiu was not settled enough, so she wanted me to clean up the mess. Having dealt with her difficult nature in a previous life, I was somewhat curious how this indulgent prince's mother would clash with someone like Yu Xiaoqiu, a real princess. Well, I wish them success then. Alright, may they have a long and happy union. You don't need to go out of your way to match us. I am not fortunate enough to deserve your precious son. Ling's mother scoffed, grabbed her purse, and huffed as she prepared to leave, but as she reached out her hand in front of me, I noticed her fingers were clubbed, a clear sign of severe heart issues. I immediately held back my words, fearful that anything too harsh might agitate her further. Mom, let's go find Xiaoqiu. As she opened the door, Ling Jing's voice came from the hallway, followed by a group of people's lively laughter and chatter. I closed the door and crouched down to quietly organize the equipment. Su Linyue mentioned that Ling Jing had booked a large restaurant, so many people from the two drama crews had gone to join the fun. Naturally, I wouldn't attend. After packing up, I left. Now, every day I go to the provincial team to guide the training. Nature had no time for such news. However, as I approached the school gate, I saw an ambulance rushing in, and groups of students hurried towards the auditorium. Hurry up. It said that a senior from the performing arts department was caught cheating by her boyfriend. I later learned about the incident from Su Linyu. She told me that a crowd had surrounded Ling Jing and his mother as they eagerly pushed open the dressing room door, only to find Xiaoqiu Yu and Shuiyi in a disheveled embrace. She quoted the classics to me. They were lost in their passion, oblivious to the world around them. Seeing this scene, Ling Jing was dumbfounded. Unable to utter a single word, Ling's mother turned pale with rage, rushing forward to grab Xiaoqiu Yu's hair, but Xiaoqiu Yu kicked her in the chest, knocking her to the ground. Ling Jing also joined in, scuffling with Shuiyi. All of this was recorded by people in the crowd who had their cameras out, hoping to capture the scene as a shocking surprise. I waved my hand, indicating I didn't want to hear any more, but Su Linyu continued. It's not over yet. During the scuffle, someone pushed Xiaoqiu Yu, and she fell, bleeding on the ground. I was utterly shocked, choking on my drink. It turns out Xiaoqiu Yu was 3 months pregnant, and now the baby is gone. I don't know how they will handle this. Counting the days, Ling Jing and Xiaoqiu Yu hadn't been together for 3 months. I wondered what Ling Jing, knowing this news, must be feeling. Ling Jing's mother was also hospitalized. She had a heart attack and was nearly lost but is now in the ICU. Gigi. You're lucky you broke up with Ling Jing when you did. You shouldn't get involved in their mess. You're fortunate. Ling Jing was only ever smooth sailing when he was with you. Too bad he didn't appreciate it. He deserves his current plight. Su Linyu continued animatedly. Her words might have been a bit harsh, but I knew she was completely siding with me. Okay, Yu, let's not talk about Ling Jing anymore. He's just someone I used to know well, I said. Let me show you the little girl from our team the other day. Look how beautifully she moves. I took out my phone, showing a video of a girl who had lost both legs to polio, triumphantly executing a perfect throat-sealing stab with her sword. Before coming to training, she had almost succumbed to marrying a stranger, a deaf-mute man, arranged by her parents, but this skill allowed her to boldly say no to the family that bullied her. Gigi, you're amazing, Su Linyu said, her eyes welling up as she hugged me tightly. One day, when I become a director, I'll make a movie about your story. The graduation assessment arrived as scheduled. Su Linyu's short film was a success. At the end, a group of girls held hands tightly, loudly reciting, I was once a high mountain. Amidst their voices, I donned my fencing gear and demonstrated my swordsmanship on stage. I wished to look down on the mundane valleys from the peaks, in the fluttering of my garment. I seemed to see a speeding car and a helpless woman in a wheelchair, her eyes brimming with tears, whispering in despair, Save me, who can save me? Across a chasm of time that could never be bridged, I answered her plea, I will save you, I can save you. then the traffic ceased its noise, the swelling subsided, and I grew legs to stand again, pulling myself to safety amidst the swirling dust. Reborn, I vowed to love myself properly. Below, the audience erupted in applause. I saw Ling Jing sitting among the crowd, crying uncontrollably. The first person to stand up and offer flowers was unexpectedly Shui Yi. I saw him approaching me with a huge bouquet of roses that almost completely obscured him. Chen Rongji, you look truly beautiful today. That was brightly scripted at the center of the bouquet. Chen Rongji, I like you, but I did not accept them. Eventually, it was Su Linyue, acting in her capacity as organizer, who took the bouquet from him and politely responded, "Thank you for your support." While packing up backstage, a figure stood at the doorway, staring straight at me. Turning around, I saw it was Ling Jing. He approached and struggled to open his arms wide. "Gigi, we're graduating soon, may I hug you?" We both knew that once these days were over, we would likely never meet again in our lifetimes. Seeing the mechanical arm peeking from his sleeve softened my heart momentarily. "Ah, Ji. I wish you happiness." His voice choked up, and in this reincarnation, his voice choked up, and the phrase "starting over" unexpectedly became what he said to me. It turns out that fate plays tricks on people, and the bizarre twists of destiny can be quite intriguing. If only, when I rushed in, you had pulled me back, how wonderful that would have been. I would have realized my mistake. Chen Rongji, I'm sorry, I was wrong. Ling Jing's lips trembled slightly as he lowered his head, tears falling to the ground. I laughed. "Ling Jing, only cowards act without owning up to their actions. If you had no regrets, I might still respect you a bit. You don't need my forgiveness, because you are not important to me, just as I am not important to you. It's a blessing for us to never meet again in this lifetime." I packed up my belongings and left the studio. This time, I hoped all my gloomy past would finally be over. After leaving school, I rarely paid attention to news about those people. Even the fact that Ling's mother nearly died from excessive bleeding during surgery, Yu Xiaoqiu causing a scene at Ling's house, and Ling Jing becoming unemployed and unable to afford the surgery fees, hence borrowing money from classmates. All these were later told to me by Su Linyue. Only Shui Yi kept sending me messages repeatedly. He almost incessantly sent his regards, told me he had broken up with Yu Xiaoqiu, and asked if I wanted to be the lead actress in his movie. I never replied. To me, men who try to coerce others using so-called wealth and power are not imposing but rather disgusting. I was busy coaching the team. "Because you are not important to me, just as I am not important to you, it's a blessing for us to never meet again in this lifetime." I packed up my belongings and left the studio. This time, I hoped all my gloomy past would finally be over. After leaving school, I rarely paid attention to news about those people. Even the fact that Ling's mother nearly died from excessive bleeding during surgery, Yu Xiaoqiu causing a scene at Ling's house, and Ling Jing becoming unemployed and unable to afford the surgery fees, hence borrowing money from classmates. All these were later told to me by Su Linyue. Only Shui Yi kept sending me messages repeatedly. He almost incessantly sent his regards, told me he had broken up with Yu Xiaoqiu, and asked if I wanted to be the lead actress in his movie. I never replied. To me, men who try to coerce others using so-called wealth and power are not imposing but rather disgusting. I was busy coaching the team members for the competition, working tirelessly every day. With the competition just 10 days away, I led the team to the venue. Since disabled sports often require more time to adapt to the venue, I was particularly anxious during the journey, fearing any mishaps that could affect the performance. However, on the night we arrived at the hotel, I received an unexpected call from Su Linyue. "Gigi, have you seen the trending search?" Her voice was hurried. After hanging up, she sent a video. In the video, it was the day of the earthquake, showing Ling's mother yelling at me in the hospital. The video was edited to only show the part where she accused me of not saving her. My indifferent expression was enlarged into a meme with the caption, "Her death is none of my business." My identity, along with the entire team I led, was exposed. Uninformed netizens commented fiercely, "How can someone who can't even save the people around her be expected to have compassion for the disabled? Is she doing this on purpose? Since she's a coach at the Paralympics, isn't she happy to have more disabled people? Suggest disqualifying her from the competition. A team led by such an unscrupulous coach doesn't deserve to participate." The attacks escalated from me to the entire team, and then to the members of my team. "Who have you offended? How could this video appear so coincidentally? It's clear that this is targeting you." Su Linyue's words brought me back to my senses. I immediately opened the social media platform and found the original video. Under the repost from the original uploader, I recognized a familiar avatar. It was Shuiyi. The moment I said his name, I shivered violently. With Shuiyi's prominent family background, his intention to control public opinion with such disgusting tactics was obvious. Amidst my frustration, an unknown number called my phone. Chenrongji, have you seen the trending search? Even though a voice changer was used, I still recognized Shuiyi's voice. What do you want? Give up your coaching role and join my team, or it won't just be your reputation that's affected. I have a way to disqualify your entire team from competing. After a long silence, I sat alone in the dark room, lost in thought. Shuiyi has always been wildly unpredictable. If I don't agree to his demands, it's hard to imagine what his outrage might escalate into. This is a critical time for everyone. And I don't want to jeopardize the competition that we've all been preparing for so meticulously over personal grievances. Yet, I also care deeply about my own feelings. This project is something I've been looking forward to for a long time, and I believe I am capable of handling this role. I don't want to give up so easily. Gigi, have you thought about the source of the video? Su Linyu's words brought me back to reality. That day, I tried to recall. My memory was a mess. But other than Ling Jing and his mother, there seemed to be no one else familiar to me present. It's been so long since that incident, only someone familiar with me would think to use it as a threat. So, who could it be? After a moment of thought, I dialed Ling Jing's mobile number. Aji, he spoke first, his voice urgent. I didn't release the video. His hasty denial only made me more suspicious. It was your mother, wasn't it? After asking, a chill ran through me. He didn't reply for a long time. And I already knew the answer. Aji, I'm sorry, she's already like this. I can't blame her anymore. I'm willing to take all the consequences. I will go and clarify everything. Okay, I scoffed coldly. What role could he claim, and how could he prove his innocence before the truth turned irreversibly damaging? What about the complete video? Can you find the full video, right now? Only by making Ling Jing's explanation in the full video public could we quickly and effectively end the disputes among netizens. The video, Shuiyi bought it, he paid all our medical bills, so now, probably only he has the right to release it. Ling Jing's voice, once so dear to me, now felt cold and distant. The phone slipped from my palm and fell to the ground. The provincial team urgently contacted my supervisor, and the head coach called. I picked up, expecting a scolding, but instead, he started gently. Gigi, don't panic, we are figuring out a solution. Unbidden, a memory surfaced of the day at the audition site when I told her, physical limitations should not imprison our pursuit of dreams. My team members have already endured so much, and many see this competition as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If they can't win and move on to the national competition, they might be forced to return home and marry. This isn't just my dream, it's theirs too. Should I really let Shuiyi destroy all of this? Xiaoyu's sister, blame it on me. I'll give up my coaching position so the kids can compete normally. After the competition, we'll find another way. But I knew, once I opt for compromise, it would tarnish my career forever. Making amends later would be no easy task. However, the predicament I face is severe. As for my team, they've already exhausted all their courage to get this far. I can't afford to be their obstacle. I quickly packed my stuff and called Su Linyu. Yu, where are you? I'm coming to find. Before I could finish, Su Linyu screamed, Gigi, it's all turned around, check the trending searches. The news of the full video being released quickly soared to the top of the local charts. The video publicly displayed Ling Jing's tearful explanation and the accusations from bystanders, swiftly shifting the public opinion. The focus then turned to the connection between Ling Jing and the mysterious Qiu Qiu. In less than half an hour, the trending search was completely pulled down. The whole process was crisp and swift, followed shortly by a trivial entertainment news pushed to the headlines. It's hard to believe there was no manipulation behind this. Thinking of Yu Xiaoqiu's true identity being exposed, finding Shuiyi wouldn't be difficult. Perhaps Shuiyi also preferred not to let the issue escalate. However, the person who managed to evade Shuiyi's plan and release the full video remains unknown to me. After this episode, Shuiyi never contacted me again. The competition was vigorously underway, and all that had happened seemed just a minor episode in the process. Subsequently, everything went smoothly. The team I coached performed exceptionally well in the provincial competition, securing the top 3 spots. Those girls, shining under the flashing lights, beamed with smiles, pushing their wheelchairs and embracing each other tightly, accompanied by the song Stars and Oceans. The minor upheaval before the race drew even more attention to the competition. The girl from the mountains won the championship and soon, various advertising agencies contacted her, promising to sponsor all her future training expenses. Amid the cheers and applause of the crowd, I received a phone call. As I pressed the call button, an unexpected voice came through. Chenrongji, you did really well. This voice, distant yet familiar, instantly dragged my memories back to a past life. In that dark hospital room, with the TV broadcasting live news, my severe insomnia rendered me nearly hopeless and broken. One evening, as a firm yet gentle voice of a female reporter narrated a news clip, I half leaned against the bed and for once, felt a sense of calmness that lulled me to sleep. During those tough days, I grew accustomed to falling asleep to that voice. Then one day, her face appeared on the live news. They reported that a reporter who had covered post-disaster events had fallen to her death from the 17th floor of a hospital, the summarized cause of death being despair from witnessing too many injured victims, leading to her suicide. The program replayed clips of her past interviews, her tone always firm and uplifting. I never knew what exactly happened to her that led to her sudden death, but I felt there was something profoundly unreasonable about it. Now, hearing this voice again brought tears to my eyes. We agreed to meet in a coffee shop. Did you release the full video? The person before me, named Shinjing, her round face slowly merging with what I remembered from behind the camera that day when Ling's mother was polling her. I'm grateful that in this life, such a tragedy didn't befall her. It was me. Her voice was still so pleasant to the ear, gentle like a stream flowing through the heart. Why are you helping me? Since Shui had initially used such evidence to threaten me, he must have ensured that all the crucial evidence was in his hands. Achieving this would have involved either money or power. As a journalist, she would have likely been eager to use the evidence she held to gain Shui's connections and resources in the media industry. Even if not, there was no need for her to risk offending him by helping me. My daughter is paralyzed. She lowered her head slightly, her eyes reddening as she began her story. The day of the earthquake, we had planned to go to the park together, but I had to go on a sudden assignment, leaving her and my husband at home. Then, a falling pillar crushed her legs. And your husband? She gave a faint smile. He was with someone else in a hotel downstairs. I found out about it later. Images of the hospital where she had fallen in a previous life flashed through my mind. I guessed it was likely where her daughter was being treated. My daughter loved to dance, and her teacher said she was very talented and wanted to recommend her to the best dance school. Her voice choked up. She's so young. How could she accept all this? She was resistant to treatment, and her condition was not improving, until she looked up at me. After the disaster reconstruction, I joined your school's autumn recruitment and heard what you said. I told my daughter your words and showed her videos of wheelchair fencing. That night, she cried a lot. The next morning, she told me, Mom, I can still dance in a wheelchair. Along with that, she had already written her will. Surprised, I looked up at her, my mouth unwittingly forming an O. If it weren't for you, she might have died. If she weren't in this world, I don't know what courage I would have to continue living. Images from the past life's black and white photos seemed still before me, my heart suddenly trembling. I had unwittingly influenced so many events, a conclusion I had never imagined. Shui contacted me, offering a huge sum for a video, but I told him that the camera malfunctioned that day and I didn't record anything. Her daughter's serious medical treatments and her ongoing divorce battle with her ex-husband meant she inevitably needed a substantial amount of money. These difficulties, unspoken, were known to me. If it weren't for you, I don't know what I would have become. A myriad of gifts cannot make me compromise my principles. What more can they add to me? She looked up at me, her words still ringing with strength. I even blamed myself once, thinking I wasn't good enough to keep my husband, which led to my daughter's misfortune. But you said it well. We are mountains, not streams. Why should we stop moving forward because of a small ditch? What I should do is make him pay. If there must be a savior with a twist in your story, I hope it is a woman. We aren't fools always fighting over men. Our swords can also point at cowards. With these words, she left. Entertainment news exploded while I was attending the fencing team's victory banquet. This time, Shui was the one who topped the headlines. The explosive news revealed was a video taken during Xiaoqiu's birthday, showing two disheveled people hastily parting, followed by Ling Jing holding flowers. Completely dumbfounded, the relationships among the three were repeatedly discussed, escalated, and eventually blew up in public opinion. I'm not sure how Chen Jing managed to obtain this video from Shui's close friend, but one thing I know is that betrayers will eventually be betrayed. Those who come together for profit will inevitably scatter when the profit runs out, such as the cycle of karma. Yu Xiaoqiu's acting career faced a major setback right from the beginning. Netizens compared her to the girl in the video, and it took them a while to confirm it was indeed her. It wasn't until I saw her recent photo that I realized the stunning beauty of the past no longer possessed her former charm. Seeing that there was no way to turn things around, her agent came forward publicly, revealing that Yu Xiaoqiu had been obsessively undergoing plastic surgery after a painful breakup. After several failed attempts, the natural beauty she was born with had completely vanished, leaving her face stiff and unrecognizable at just over 20 years old. Without her beautiful face, she has completely become a scapegoat, her reputation in tatters. Even those words she once said in private to a friend were leaked. Ling Jing, I was just playing around with him. If I didn't make it seem real, how would Shuiyi feel the pain? Were also exposed. I don't know if Ling Jing pays attention to entertainment news. Nor do I know what he feels upon hearing this voice message. The whole affair concluded with the exposure of tax evasion by the financial backers behind Shuiyi. It is said that the seemingly respectable figure was continuously involved in extramarital affairs, and eventually, his ex-wife provided evidence against him. Now, he awaits legal sanctions. We will continue to monitor the developments of this situation. This is reporter Chen Jing bringing you the news. At the end of the news, a familiar voice resonated in my ears. The woman's eyes slightly curved, her tone light and graceful, yet there was a sense of relief and detachment. Years later, I met Su Linyu again. She had returned from studying abroad and, in an effort to avoid pressure from her family to marry, accidentally became a famous director while proving herself in the filmmaking industry. She approached me, saying that the movie based on my life was already in preparation. Her class had produced many talented directors, but Shuiyi, once the most famous, ended up in a tragic situation, now completely forgotten by those in the industry. Su Linyu asked if there was any dialogue I wished to keep, and I wrote down a line for her. Many years ago, someone gave up on himself and told me that life and wealth are destined by fate, but what I want to tell you is, as long as you refuse to give up, your destiny is not solely dictated by fate. I told Su Linyu that I wanted my first group of students to be the prototype for the film. The once skinny, dark-skinned girl had become a Paralympic champion. Every year during the competitions, she would send me a photo. In these photos, the girl had shed her awkwardness, smiling radiantly. It was a beauty that rivaled Yu Xiaoqiu's, a vibrant beauty of life. I had taught many students, and Su Linyu had invited most of them to participate in this performance. Those girls said I was their savior, that I had rescued many who had given up on themselves. I unexpectedly empathized, giving many the courage to choose life, but no one knew that my initial wish was merely to save myself. Yet in my midnight dreams, I again heard the words of the woman in the wheelchair. She said,